Primetime local news, serving the Lakeland and Midwest regions.
Good evening. As the cooler fall temperatures set in, the city is confirming that one of Lloydminster's biggest construction project is on track to be completed by the end of the month.
We are on track for October 31st.
Mayor Gerald Albert says that work is continuing on the Highway 16 rehab project, with concrete being poured regularly on the eastbound side of the highway. There is less work needed to be done during Phase 2 of the project compared to Phase 1, and the crews have seen favorable weather conditions. Mayor Albers expects the project to be completed by Halloween and thanks motorists and businesses for being cooperative during construction.
I need to remind people you simply can't pour concrete one day and drive on it the next. There's some curbs to go in. They're still finishing the turning lane on 66.
Construction work on the new museum and archives is also progressing according to schedule, with the goal that it can be open to the public before Christmas. In this week's Beyond the Classroom, we take a look at Winston Churchill's cross-country running club and their year-end race. Wednesday afternoon saw students from grade 2 to 6 at Winston Churchill School competing in a cross-country race around JC Park. This race was a wrap-up for the cross-country running club, which has been meeting since the beginning of the school year.
We meet together on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays at lunchtime, and we practice together working on some running technique, how to use our arms and our legs and to run up elevation, and how to set goals and pace ourselves, how to use breathing techniques to help us when we're running. Go!
The race was a 2-kilometer run around the park, with each grade having their own separate winners. With the training the students have done throughout the year, they were glad to show off their skills and finish in the top spots.
It was very hard, but it was very exciting at the end. I can't believe I actually placed first. My strategy was to start off slow, because everyone starts off fast, and speed at the very end. It was really fun. I can't wait to tell everyone how much fun it was.
Besides physical skills, the cross-country club teaches mental lessons as well. They hope the club can be a stepping stone for other sports at Winston Churchill.
We also have a fun run coming up in the springtime, so we'll be training again, but this is a great foundation for the rest of the sports we have in our school year, such as soccer, and we have basketball, triple ball, flag football. This is a great base for that training.
And that's it for this week's Beyond the Classroom.
Explore 50-plus programs from the comfort of your home during Lakeland College's virtual open house. Jump online October 22nd or 23rd.
8 students from the Community Social Work program volunteered 25 hours for the Cold Lake Food Bank's Ride for Refuge fundraiser event with staff at Portage College. So far, the event has locally raised over $7,300, and our Shelby Clark spoke with Portage College on its success.
Joining us for Primetime Local News is Lila Allen with Portage College to speak on their staff teaming up with community social work students to help with the food bank. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Shelby.
Now, there was 8 students from the CSW program who volunteered for this fundraiser. What was all involved in this?
So the Community Social Work program, CSW program at Portage College, is the 2-year diploma program, and the bottom goal of the program is to get our students employed in the social work field, human services field. And so what the staff and I do is we try and partner with other agencies, other organizations, for the students to get some work integrated learning. So whether that be volunteering, and this latest venture was 8 students that helped out the Cold Lake Food Bank raise funds for their produce for their shelves and non-perishable goods. And it was part of Ride for Refuge. The Ride for Refuge, it's been much bigger over in the past years due to COVID. It's kind of scaled down a bit, but what the students volunteered, 8 of them volunteered to do, was help put those landmark signs for bikers, people that were riding their bikes for 5K. Well, usually they didn't do the 5K. The bikers, bike riders usually did the 10 or 25K. And so they put marks, signs out for the participants so that they knew which way they were going. The 5K, there was a bunch of us that staff-wise that did the 5-kilometer walk, and it was a beautiful Saturday, and we raised some good money.
So this was the 6th year that the Cold Lake Food Bank had this event for. Did the staff at Portage College and for the food bank expect to at least see the support for the event this year?
I have to say that I personally have donated to the event because we have staff that are always involved in it. And this year I decided to take a more active role by involving our students, and not only, well, and also it's up to them if they want to or not, but we ask them to volunteer, because when your face is out in the community, that's how you get known and that's how you get jobs, right? It's and it also is work integrated learning. They learn what the agencies do, and they're doing it practically, right? They are there hands-on. So this year, I rallied a bunch, the college college, and asked who would like to join us on a team. I would do the 5K. I was going to do the 5K walk, and so a bunch of us did do the 5K walk. As I think there were 6 of us, and many kids of staff too. So yeah, so it was very good. I realized how, I guess I got more actively involved this year because I realized the importance of the Cold Lake Food Bank. I am, for our work integrated learning, I have students that are doing hours and practicum hours and volunteering at the Cold Lake John Howard Society. And most of our, well, we don't have a whole lot of funding. It's due to donations and the help of the community. But the Cold Lake Food Bank has been critical in helping us continue to open our doors for vulnerable population, like the homeless. I had just mentioned I was just there helping by making soup for the homeless and vulnerable population that are needing a meal, a warm meal, and a warm place to stay. So yeah.
And for students seeing this right now and others that are interested for, the future events for the Cold Lake Food Bank, where can they get more information and be able to help support?
On the Ride for Refuge, it's a Canadian event. There's lots of different locations that have this ride, and it's for different charities. And Ride for Refuge in Cold Lake has always been for the Cold Lake Food Bank. So all you have to do is go on the internet and look up Ride for Refuge.
Perfect. Well, once again, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me, Shelby. Okay.
Now Shelby Clark will take a look at your weather forecast. Thanks so much, Jasmine. Now taking a first look at your weather forecast. Today we are looking a little bit gloomier, a little bit cooler here in the border city. We are sitting at 5 degrees with a mix of some sun and cloud, but we are seeing a little bit more cloud coverage. So it is feeling a bit cooler today than what we were seeing yesterday. And now moving on to temperatures across the region for Alberta and Saskatchewan here. Most are sitting at that 9-degree mark, while Lac La Biche is at 10 degrees, 6 degrees in Vermilion, while Cold Lake is at 7 degrees, and Wainwright is at 7 as well, and Provost is at 5 degrees. So we are seeing a lot of those single-digit temperatures now as we're more into the fall season. And switching over to our Saskatchewan side here, most are sitting at that 8-degree mark there. 9 degrees in Pearson, while Maidstone is the coolest at 2 degrees there. And Macklin is at 7, while North Battleford is at 6 degrees. And speaking of North Battleford, overnight they will be going down to a low of -3 with a lot more cloud coverage throughout the night. And with that wind chill, they will be feeling like a low of -7 as well. And tomorrow they will warm up just a couple degrees there to a high of 8 degrees with a mix of some sun and cloud than like what they were seeing today. And switching over to Cold Lake, overnight they'll be going down to a low of -3 as well, which will also be feeling like a low of -7 with that wind chill. And tomorrow they will be seeing a little bit more sun there, peeking behind those clouds with a high of 9 degrees. And switching over to here in the border city overnight, we will be going down to a low of -3 as well. This be on track, the same as what we're seeing in North Battleford and Cold Lake. And we'll be feeling a little bit of wind chill, feeling like -5 throughout the night with a little bit of clouds in sight. And tomorrow we'll be warming up just a bit to a high of 8 with a bit more sun as well. And switching over to our 3-day forecast for here in the border city, as I was saying, for Thursday, we will be seeing a high of 9 degrees and a low of -3 there with a mix of some sun and cloud. Friday will actually be picking it up there for the weekend with a high of 13 on Friday to start off the weekend and a low of -3, but we will be seeing a little bit more sun there on Friday to start it off. And Saturday we will be seeing a high of 14, so we are seeing some warmer temperatures for the weekend and a low of 0 degrees for the weekend, and seeing a little bit more double-digit temperatures, but we will be cooling down just a bit when you will see in my forecast. That's the first look at your weather forecast. We'll have more news coming up after the break. Welcome back. Shoppers are noticing a price increase on their grocery bill, with all different types of food costing more than they did even a few months ago. These high prices won't be going away anytime soon. Jillian Code has more.
Today on Primetime Local News, I'm joined by Janet Music, who is a research program coordinator with the Agri-Food Analytics Lab at Dalhousie University. Now, Janet, today we're talking about food inflation. Is this something that consumers are already seeing on store shelves?
Absolutely. So food prices are up across the board in almost all categories, some more than others. So recently we've been talking a lot about meat prices, especially bacon. So bacon right now is about $1 per slice a pack in some areas of the country. And recently we've been talking about turkey, which has actually remained steady. But some of those more popular cuts of meat, because we don't cook turkeys every day, have really increased in price. Yeah.
And does this have anything to do with the drought that Western Canada faced this year?
Absolutely. So I think there's a number of mitigating factors that are forcing food prices to rise. And one of them, of course, is adverse weather effects. So I know it's been difficult harvests out west because of drought conditions. Also, wildfires in BC and in California have really impacted the amount of produce coming in, but also feed grains for larger herds. And I would also say COVID-19 is still having impact on the food supply chain. So parts of the food supply chain are experiencing shortages of labor. Transportation is also affected as vaccine requirements are holding up transportation across borders and bottlenecking, shipping imports.
So with so many factors, is it safe to say that Canada isn't the only country experiencing this?
No, absolutely not. So the FAO has recently declared that food prices are up about 10% around the globe. That's extremely high. So in a country like Canada, we're very, very fortunate. So our food supply has been pretty robust. We haven't really experienced a lot of shortages. But adverse weather effects are taking place across the world. So if you think about floods in Europe and in China, and drought conditions in other places like Russia and China, yes, and Europe as well. So it's up across the board for sure.
And, I know it can be hard to predict things like this, but is there an end in sight, or are things just going to continue down this path?
So certainly we see the COVID-19 pandemic coming to an end sooner rather than later. And that will hopefully relieve some of those bottlenecks that we're seeing at borders and in shipping ports. So that should affect prices as well. And also things like packaging that are also, so sometimes it's not the commodity itself that's forcing the rise in prices, but the packaging that it ends up in. So hopefully that will also cause kind of a depression in prices. But I think overall, at least into the new year, we can expect higher prices in most of our food categories.
And I'm sure that's not what a lot of consumers are wanting to hear. That was all the questions I had. Are there any other aspects of this you think we should touch on?
No, I think that's it. It's not a great news story. I mean, we're pretty lucky here in Canada. We had a global pandemic, and really we didn't have to change our diet too much in the last year, and climate change is a reality now for the planet. And so what we do to mitigate adverse weather is a very large conversation to have with many actors. So in the short term, I don't know. So
No, for sure. Janet, thank you so much for chatting with me about this.
yeah, thank you. All right.
While most were eating turkey this past weekend, the Lakeland Rustlers soccer teams wrapped up the regular season. Both the men and women punched their ticket to the playoffs, but each will have a different path to the finals. Evan Kenny has more.
Ahead of the weekend, the Lakeland women's soccer team was off to a historic 3-0-1 start. This was good enough to be nationally ranked for the first time in program history.
The program has never seen that before, so I'm very proud of the girls. I'm very proud of their work ethic getting here. All the hard work paid off, all the two-a-day practices in August. I'm very proud of them. I'm very happy.
The team had a chance to lock up first place in the North with games against Keano College and Concordia University. The Rustlers would drop both 3-1 and 5-1.
I'm not disappointed in the girls. I'm not unhappy with the girls. It's a game, right? It's a game. Someone's going to lose. Someone's going to tie. Someone's going to win. I just hope they gave all they could give. You know what I mean? Give all you could give. You gave all you could give. I can't ask for more.
The women have still qualified for playoffs and will play Grand Prairie, a team the Rustlers beat 2-1 to start the season.
I know we've slipped this weekend, but hey, man, we've done enough to get into playoffs. We've done enough to get through, and playoffs is a different game, man. Playoffs is different. Anyone gets in, you get in last place, you get to the final still. You know what I mean? It's a new season. Playoffs is a new season. So,
meanwhile, the men's team earned themselves a bye to the semifinals of playoffs and will play Sunday. We'll have more on them later in the week. Evan Kenny, Primetime Local Sports.
Now Shelby Clark will take a look at temperatures around Alberta and Saskatchewan.
Thanks so much, Jasmine. Now taking another look at your weather forecast. Yes, we'll be starting off with taking a look at temperatures around central Alberta and Saskatchewan here. 7 degrees in Whitecourt and Edson. Jasper is at 8 degrees, as well as in Athabasca, while Rocky Mountain House and Red Deer a bit cooler at 4 and 5 degrees. And switching over on the Saskatchewan side here, Cold Lake is at 7 degrees still there. Meadow Lake is at 8 degrees, while Prince Albert is at 4 degrees and Melford's at 5. And both the others, North Battleford and Saskatoon, are at 6 degrees. So a little bit cooler as we are into that fall season there. And as we switch over to our northern region of the provinces, they are still seeing around the same as what we're seeing in the central region, but Uranium City and Stony Rapids are actually a little bit warmer at 11 and 10 degrees. Wollaston Lake is at 6 degrees, while South End is at 5. La Ronge is at 4, while Flin Flon is at 7 degrees, and La Loche and Buffalo Narrows are at 8 degrees. Switching over at this end here, some are at that double-digit mark as well, with Peace River at 11 degrees there. Grand Prairie is at 10, as well as High Level is at 11 as well. Fort McMurray is a bit warmer at 12 degrees, and Fort Chipewyan and Slave Lake are at 8 and 9 degrees. And switching over to our southern region of the provinces, usually they are seeing a little bit warmer temperatures, but they aren't as much now as we are through that fall season here. Lethbridge and Coronation are at 8 degrees. 3 and 4 in Banff and Calgary, they're a little bit cooler, and Medicine Hat is a bit warmer at 11 degrees. And switching over at this end here, 6 degrees in Kindersley, while Yorkton and Swift Current are both at 4, and the rest are actually at 2 degrees. So looking a lot cooler over on this side here. And switching back over across the region to temperatures overnight tonight, we are still seeing those minus temperatures as we've been seeing earlier in through the week. Meadow Lake will be seeing a low of -5, as well as in Wainwright tonight. Isle Cross, surprisingly, will actually be seeing a low of 1 degree there, so not as much cooler as what we're seeing across the region in Isle Cross. But Meadow Lake and Isle Cross will be seeing a little bit more cloudier skies there. Pearslin and Bonnyville will be seeing a low of -4, as well as in Paradise Hill, a low of -3 in Unity tonight, while Provost and Murnum will be seeing a bit cooler with a low of -6 and a low of -7. But most places will be seeing a little bit more cloudier earlier, clouds in sight throughout the night. And as we head to temperatures tomorrow across the region, we will be seeing around the same as what we've been seeing today, ranging from around 9 to 10 degrees there, while Vegreville will be just slightly warmer at 11 degrees, and Isle Cross will actually be looking a bit cooler, sitting at 7 tomorrow. And switching over to our 7-day forecast for here in the border city, Thursday and Friday we will be seeing a high of 9 on Thursday with a mix of some sun and cloud. Friday we will be starting off this weekend a little bit warmer with a high of 13 with a mix of some sun and cloud as well. Saturday throughout the weekend we'll be seeing a high of 14, so we are still seeing some warmer temperatures for our weekends there. Sunday we'll be ending off on a warmer note with a high of 16 on Sunday with a little bit more cloud coverage, but as we head into next week there, we will cool down on Monday and Tuesday with those single-digit temperatures with a high of 8 and a high of 9 on those days, and Wednesday we'll be seeing a high of 12. That is another look at your weather forecast. We'll have more news coming up after the break.
Stephanie Dobson is back with us this week. Stephanie is a lawyer and mediator at Hanka Divorce Law and Mediation here in Lloydminster. And today, Stephanie, we are talking about something called shared parenting. So let's start by talking about what exactly that means.
Sure. So in essence, shared parenting is a certain allocation of parenting time between two parents. So it's where each parent has at least 40% of the time with the children in a calendar year. So it used to be called shared custody, which might be a more familiar term to our viewers, prior to the change in the divorce and parenting legislation in March of 2021. So given that this shared parenting is calculated on an annual basis, parents can literally get down to the number of minutes that they spend and hours that they spend with their children. Now, lots of people don't get into that much detail, but if you need to know, there happens to be 525,600 minutes in a 365-day calendar year, if anyone needs to know that random piece of information. But when creating a parenting schedule, the legislation doesn't actually create any kind of a presumption in favor of this 60-40, 50-50 type of arrangement. Instead, the Divorce Act and the legislation looks at the relationship between the parent-child and trying to figure out what's in the best interest of the children.
Would this have any impact on child support, Stephanie?
Well, our viewers might remember that child support is determined based on the child support guidelines. And so that's either provincial or federal regulations. So when we look to calculate child support under shared parenting, there's actually a special section for this. It's called Section 9 of the guidelines. So under that section, there's 3 points to consider. So first, we look at what's called a set-off approach. So that is where we calculate what mom would pay to dad if the kids were with dad primarily, and what dad would pay to mom if the kids were with mom primarily. So if dad would pay $500 and mom would pay $300, that offset amount, the difference, is $200. So the set-off approach is always the first calculations that we look at. And then the next parts of the guidelines are what I call the flexibility provisions. So next we would look at any increased costs of shared parenting arrangements. The parents might have to get bigger homes to accommodate more of a full-time basis with the kids. And next we look at the conditions, means, and needs of either spouse or of the children for whom child support is sought.
So are there any implications tax-wise for shared parenting?
Well, the simple answer is yes. The tax rules are under a completely different set of rules than the family and divorce laws, but yes, there are. So there's two aspects that I thought we could cover today. One is the Canada Child Benefit, CCB, and the other is the amount for eligible dependent, or otherwise known as the Aed Credit. So first, let's look at the CCB rules. So under the Income Tax Act, one key of the keys to shared custody is that children are residing with each parent on an equal or near equal basis, is what they say. So there's no percentage that's particularly specified in there. So if you are living in that kind of an arrangement and you qualify under the tax rules, then each parent is eligible to receive 50% of their CCB entitlement. So next, let's look at the Aed credit. So this is a credit that you can claim on your taxes if you have an eligible dependent. So what the heck is an eligible dependent? Well, first, you need to be either unmarried or separated. And second, you need to maintain what's called a self-contained domestic establishment where you support a dependent. So if you have one child, then you and your former spouse are going to have to figure out who's going to claim that child in a particular year. If you have more than one child, each of you can claim one child on your taxes. So I just want to mention two very quick notes of caution on this. First, if you're doing a set-off approach, which is that 500 minus 200 equals 500 minus 300 equals $200. That set-off approach, you need in your documentation to document the full amount, not just the $200 as that difference between the two numbers. And then secondly, you have to make sure that you disclose to Canada Revenue Agency that you're doing a shared parenting arrangement. I've seen all too often where there's a huge tax bill if you misdeclared your parenting arrangement to the CRA.
So if people are going with the shared parenting plan, Stephanie, what tips would you have for them?
Well, I've got three really quick tips. When you're working in shared parenting, a high degree of cooperation is really helpful. So my first tip for parents is to learn effective communication. There's so many different ways that you can do this, either with apps or with guidelines for communication in your parenting plan that I always help parents to develop. Second is to develop consistency between homes so that the kids know what the rules are in each home and how they act can be very similar and their routines are very similar, can really help them. And third is to take steps to reduce the conflict between parents. This is one of the leading factors in how the kids will adjust and how resilient they will be to the divorce is the degree of conflict between the parents.
All right, Stephanie, well, thank you once again for joining us, and we'll chat with you again next week.
Thanks.
Today, I'm joined by Carrie Pollard from the Legacy Center here in Lloydminster to talk about their drive-through fall supper happening this weekend. So to start, would you be able to just give a brief explanation of what the drive-through supper will be?
So because of all this COVID stuff, we have had to cancel a lot of our dances and suppers, all our moneymaker kind of stuff. So we had to figure out a way to make some money. So we decided a drive-through fall supper, and this Sunday, and pick up between 4:30 and 6:30, and it's turkey and all the fixings and pumpkin desserts, your regular fall supper. So yeah.
And you had mentioned this event will be a fundraiser. So what will the money raised from the supper be used for?
Operating expenses. We pay all the bills and everything at the Legacy Center. So all the power and gas bills and everything have to be paid. Wages, all that. Yeah.
And so what are some of the services that the Legacy Center provides?
Okay, the Legacy Center, it's a senior drop-in center. So we consider seniors 55 and up. So they're all welcome to come out, and we have all different kinds of activities going on Monday to Friday. We do exercises, line dancing, all different card games, floor curling. In a normal year with no COVID, we'd have dances, suppers, all that kind of stuff also. It's just a place for seniors to come out and socialize and have a good time.
And so how can people put their orders in to get their plate?
So it's $20 a plate, and they can call the Legacy Center office, and it has to be pre-ordered meals for sure. A lot of them have been coming in and buying their tickets. Some are phoning in and pre-ordering. We want to have them pre-ordered by noon on Friday so we know how much food to prepare for Sunday. So if they come in and pay, they get a ticket that we're doing it in time frames, like every 15 minutes. So they can pick a 15-minute time frame to come and pick up their food so that everybody gets it hot. We want everybody to have a hot meal. So if they come in and pay, that's fine, they get a ticket. If they want to pay at the time that they pick up, they can do that also with cash, check, or debit. We have available. Yeah.
And would you potentially have sort of a rough estimate as to how many orders you've received so far?
We're going to cut it off at 200. 200 meals in a 2-hour time frame is enough for us to prepare. And right now we're about halfway there, so which is pretty good. People usually wait till the last minute.
With the orders, what will people be getting on their plates? What will it come with?
Turkey, mashed potatoes and gravy, stuffing, of course, and turnips, carrots, a biscuit, and then pumpkin dessert for the dessert. Yeah.
So I'd seen online that you guys had put out requests for donations of vegetables and other things like that. Will most of what you guys will be serving, will that be local products that have been donated?
Yep, a lot of our seniors have, of course, some of them have gardens, so we have all the potatoes donated for sure, and a lot of the carrots. The turnips, we still need a few of them, but we can always buy them if we have to. Yeah.
And taking a final look at our 7-day forecast here as we go out through the night here. Thursday we will be seeing a high of 9 with a mix of some sun and cloud, but we will be warming it right back up on Friday with a high of 13 with a mix of some sun and cloud as well to start off this weekend. Saturday we'll see a high of 14 while we'll be ending off on a warmer note on Sunday with a high of 16. But as we start off next week, we will be cooling it back down to a high of 8 on Monday, and Tuesday and Wednesday we'll be seeing a high of 9 and a high of 12.
Thank you for joining us on Primetime Local News, and have a good night.